Let's go over to the maps of the big board and talk to Clint Watts. He's there for us, a former infantryman, now a distinguished research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute, also a national security analyst for NBC News and MSNBC. And Clint, let's start with that nuclear power plant. Show us where it is and the significance of its location.
That's right, Joe. Zaporizhzhia is what we were talking about last night. A few key notes about it. We saw some video that you might have seen out on social media of a firefight in and around those reactors. What do the Russians want to do? They want to take control of the entire energy sector because they can use that when they're doing siege warfare like we're seeing in many cities around Ukraine to take control essentially of the power sources. But separately, the more important point might be psychological, injecting fear into audiences while we're trying to get to the bottom of what happened here last night. Is it safe? I would bet that Russian disinformation broadcast back at home is saying that this is the Ukrainians possibly using some sort of nuclear material or causing a blast. We saw that last week when Chernobyl was taken back. The last thing I want to add, just from a military perspective, is we keep seeing these discussions of nuclear sites. Nuclear sites also have massive railheads. If you are an invading army with large armor formations, you're bogged down logistically, and you want to move things very quickly over time, taking railheads, particularly those that are outside of cities, is extremely important. So there's another logistical component for them because they are not doing well on the roads right now. The other thing that I want to bring up here is while we've talked about the first week and 2 days, the Russians really struggling, Ukrainians overachieving, the Russians are now using that combat power to take hold. Several things have happened over the last 48 hours. First, this unit in Crimea, this is the peninsula they seized back in 2014. It has created a land bridge to its forces here in Donbass. Those forces now are surrounding this town here of Mariupol. Mika was showing some video there. This is total war, siege warfare, indirect fire, cutting off infrastructure. These folks are in for absolute disaster right now. Separately, Kherson, that's the other breakaway Mika was talking about. Kherson is essentially the mouth of the Dnieper River as it enters into the Black Sea, and there is a bridge here in Kherson which allows the Russian military to move to the western side of Ukraine. If they can do that, they can possibly march all the way to the Moldovan border, essentially sealing off this entire area here. There would be no sea resupply. There would be no way to get logistics in, and it allows the Russians then to start using things like landing crafts to essentially bring in more forces and more quickly in the south. Bringing it back to the bigger picture, I think that's where we're at this morning. We've been talking a lot about the convoy that has been stuck there up in the north, but I think there's some bigger things to think about. They tried this initial move right here, trying to get into Kyiv. You might remember a failed airborne assault, which seemed to have been an attempt to take down and topple the government real early. That convoy, while bogged down, you're seeing them start to make gains in here through Chernihiv. Chernihiv, indirect fires, indiscriminate killing yesterday. Not particularly significant unless you're building up what we call a loggerhead here. You want to take all of these rear areas, and so you probably heard Defense Press Secretary Kirby yesterday talking about these towns. If you are moving a massive army in and trying to take Kyiv, you don't want to be fighting insurgents here in your rear area, that you want to secure your logistics bases. And that brings us to the end. They're now marching from the south and from the east. Their ultimate goal is to encircle Kyiv and really cut off all resupply over the ground from Poland.
Clint Watts, thank you very much.